Carl Jung's life is a testament to the transformative power of the human psyche. His groundbreaking concepts, such as the collective unconscious and archetypes, revolutionized our understanding of the mind. Get ready to embark on a journey into the depths of genius and madness with one of psychology's most fascinating figures. As we delve deeper into Carl Jung's life, we find ourselves in the picturesque town of Keswil, Switzerland, where he spent his formative years. Born on July 26, 1875, Jung's childhood was marked by a complex interplay of influences that would later shape his theoretical perspectives. His father, Johann Paul Achilles Jung, was a pastor in the Swiss Reformed Church, and his mother, Emilie Preiswerk Jung, came from a family of devout Christians. This religious backdrop had a profound impact on Jung's early development, as he often felt torn between his father's rational approach to faith and his mother's more mystical inclinations. Jung's relationships with his parents were also noteworthy, particularly his connection with his mother, who suffered from what would now be recognized as depression. Her emotional struggles and occasional hospitalizations left an indelible mark on Jung's psyche, fostering a deep empathy for the human experience and a fascination with the mysteries of the mind. As he navigated these complex family dynamics, Jung developed a rich inner world, often escaping into fantasy and imagination to cope with the stresses of his environment. As Jung progressed through his educational journey, he found himself drawn to the sciences, particularly biology and chemistry. However, it was his encounter with the works of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe and Friedrich Nietzsche that truly ignited his passion for the human psyche. These literary giants introduced Jung to the concept of the unconscious, an idea that would become a cornerstone of his theoretical framework. My colleagues in the field often note that Jung's exposure to these thinkers laid the groundwork for his future explorations of the collective, unconscious, and archetypes. Jung's academic pursuits eventually led him to the University of Basel, where he studied medicine and later specialized in psychiatry. Although Jung's relationship with Freud was complex and often tumultuous, it played a significant role in shaping his thoughts on the human psyche. As I reflect on Jung's journey, I am reminded of the importance of mentorship and the power of interpersonal relationships in shaping our understanding of the mind. His concept of the personal unconscious, for example, posits that each individual has a unique reservoir of thoughts, feelings, and memories that are inaccessible to conscious awareness. This idea laid the groundwork for his later work on archetypes and the collective unconscious, which would revolutionize our understanding of human behavior and psychology. Through his work, Jung invites us to consider the intricate dance between our personal experiences and the universal patterns that shape human consciousness. Jung's experiences as a psychiatrist at the Burghölzli Hospital in Zurich also had a profound impact on his theoretical development. His work with patients suffering from mental illnesses such as schizophrenia and dementia praecox led him to develop new techniques for understanding and treating these conditions. One notable case study involved a patient known as Miss Miller, who suffered from a condition that would now be recognized as dissociative identity disorder. Jung's work with Miss Miller allowed him to explore the concept of the complex, a group of associated ideas, feelings, and experiences that are organized around a central archetype. This concept would later become a cornerstone of his theoretical framework, highlighting the complex interplay between conscious and unconscious processes. As Jung delved deeper into his work at the Burghölzli Hospital, he began to develop a unique approach to psychotherapy that emphasized the importance of exploring the unconscious mind. His experiences with patients like Miss Miller had convinced him that the key to understanding human behavior lay in uncovering the hidden patterns and associations that governed their thoughts, feelings, and actions. To achieve this, Jung developed a technique called active imagination, which involved encouraging patients to engage with their fantasies and dreams in a creative and expressive way. One notable example of this approach can be seen in Jung's work with a patient known as Emilie, a young woman who suffered from debilitating anxiety and depression. Through active imagination, Jung helped Emilie to tap into her unconscious mind and explore the symbolic world of her dreams and fantasies. As they worked together, Emily began to uncover a rich landscape of archetypes and complexes that had been shaping her experiences and behaviors. For instance, she discovered a powerful mother archetype that had been influencing her relationships with authority figures, and a hero archetype that had been driving her desire for independence and self-expression. Jung's work with Emily and other patients like her led him to develop his concept of the process of individuation, which referred to the integration of the opposites, such as conscious and unconscious, rational and emotional, to become a whole and complete person. This process, Jung believed, was essential for achieving psychological wholeness and balance, and for realizing one's full potential as a human being. As I reflect on Jung's concept of individuation, I am reminded of the wisdom of the ancient Greek aphorism "Know thyself," which suggests that the key to personal growth and transformation lies in developing a deeper understanding of our own strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. As Jung's ideas began to gain recognition within the psychological community, he attracted the attention of other prominent thinkers and researchers. One notable figure who was influenced by Jung's work was the psychologist and philosopher Hermann Hesse, who would later incorporate elements of Jungian theory into his own writings on psychology and philosophy. The two men developed a close friendship and engaged in a lively correspondence that explored the intersections between psychology, philosophy, and spirituality. While the two men shared a deep respect for one another's work, they also had fundamental disagreements about the nature of the human psyche and the best approach to psychotherapy. Freud, for example, was skeptical of Jung's emphasis on the collective unconscious and the role of archetypes in shaping human behavior. Jung, on the other hand, felt that Freud's approach was too narrow and reductionist, failing to account for the full richness and complexity of human experience. As Jung's ideas about the collective unconscious and archetypes continued to evolve, he became increasingly fascinated with the concept of synchronicity, the phenomenon where events are meaningfully connected, yet lack a causal relationship. This fascination led him to explore the intersection of psychology, philosophy, and physics, particularly in the realm of parapsychology. This experience convinced Jung that there were forces at work beyond the realm of conventional causality, and that the human psyche was capable of tapping into these forces. Jung's exploration of synchronicity also led him to develop his concept of the acausal connecting principle, which posited that certain events were connected not through cause and effect, but through a shared symbolic or archetypal resonance. This idea would later influence the development of various fields, including depth psychology, anthropology, and even theoretical physics. For instance, Jung's concept of synchronicity has been seen as a precursor to the idea of quantum entanglement, where two particles become connected in such a way that their properties are correlated regardless of the distance between them. One of the most significant relationships in Jung's life was with his wife, Emma Rauschenbach-Jung. Emma was not only a supportive partner, but also an intelligent and insightful individual who played an important role in Jung's intellectual development. She was particularly interested in the field of alchemy, which would later become a major area of study for Jung. Together, they explored the symbolic language of alchemy, seeing it as a way to understand the process of individuation and the integration of opposites. Emma's own writings on the subject, including her book The Grail Legend, demonstrated a deep understanding of the psychological and philosophical principles underlying alchemical symbolism. Jung's work with his patients also continued to shape his theoretical framework. One notable case study involved a patient known as Peter, a young man struggling with symptoms of what would now be recognized as bipolar disorder. Through active imagination and dream analysis, Jung helped Peter uncover a rich landscape of archetypes and complexes that were driving his mood swings and erratic behavior. As they worked together, Peter began to develop a greater sense of self-awareness and emotional regulation, ultimately achieving a more stable and balanced state of mind. Despite the success of his therapeutic approach, Jung's ideas were not without controversy. Many of his contemporaries, including Freud, criticized him for being too mystical or unscientific in his emphasis on the collective, unconscious, and synchronicity. Others saw his concept of individuation as overly individualistic, neglecting the role of social and environmental factors in shaping human behavior. However, Jung remained committed to his vision, believing that the integration of opposites and the exploration of the unconscious mind held the key to true psychological transformation. As the years passed, Jung's reputation as a leading figure in psychology continued to grow. He attracted visitors from around the world, including artists, writers, and philosophers who were drawn to his ideas about the human psyche and the nature of creativity. One notable visitor was the author James Joyce, who was fascinated by Jung's concept of the collective unconscious and its relation to artistic expression. Their conversations about the role of mythology and symbolism in literature would later influence Joyce's writing, particularly in his novel Finnegan's Wake. Jung's own creative pursuits also flourished during this period. He was an accomplished artist and craftsman, often expressing himself through painting, drawing, and stone carving. His artwork, much like his writing, was filled with symbolic imagery and allusions to mythology and alchemy. One of his most famous creations was the Red Book, a beautifully illustrated manuscript that explored the process of individuation through a series of vivid dreams and fantasies. As Jung's reputation continued to grow, he found himself at the center of a vibrant community of artists, writers, and thinkers who were drawn to his ideas about the human psyche and the nature of creativity. One such individual was the German philosopher and psychologist Hermann Hesse, with whom Jung maintained a close correspondence. Their exchange of letters, which spanned many years, offers a fascinating glimpse into the intellectual and artistic currents of the time. In one particularly insightful letter, Hesse wrote to Jung about the importance of embracing the contradictions and paradoxes of human nature, rather than trying to resolve them through rational analysis alone. This resonated deeply with Jung, who saw it as a validation of his own emphasis on the role of the unconscious in shaping our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Jung's work with patients also continued to influence his theoretical framework, particularly in the area of psychological typology. He became increasingly interested in the ways that different personality types interacted with the world around them, and how these interactions shaped their experiences of reality. One notable case study involved a patient known as Rachel, a young woman who struggled with feelings of disconnection and isolation despite being surrounded by friends and family. Through active imagination and dream analysis, Jung helped Rachel uncover a deep-seated need for solitude and introspection, which had been suppressed by her outwardly oriented personality type. As they worked together, Rachel began to develop a greater sense of self-awareness and emotional regulation, ultimately achieving a more authentic and fulfilling connection with others. Jung's relationships with his contemporaries were not without their challenges, however. His disagreements with Freud, in particular, continued to simmer just below the surface. Despite their shared interests in the unconscious mind, the two men had fundamentally different views on the nature of human psychology, and their debates often turned heated. In one notable exchange, Freud criticized Jung's concept of the collective unconscious as being too broad and ill-defined, while Jung countered that Freud's emphasis on the personal unconscious was too narrow and reductionist. These intellectual sparring matches, while sometimes contentious, ultimately helped to clarify and refine Jung's ideas and contributed to the development of his distinctive approach to psychology. As the years passed, Jung's interests expanded beyond the realm of psychology into areas such as philosophy, anthropology, and even physics. He became fascinated by the concept of synchronicity, which he saw as a key to understanding the interconnectedness of all things. In one memorable conversation with the physicist Wolfgang Pauli, Jung explored the idea that synchronistic events, those that cannot be explained by cause and effect alone, might be evidence of a deeper, non-causal reality that underlies our everyday experience. This notion, while still highly speculative, has had a profound influence on modern thought, and continues to inspire research in fields such as quantum mechanics and complexity theory. Despite the many demands on his time and energy, Jung remained committed to his own personal growth and development, recognizing that this was essential to his work as a psychologist and thinker. he continued to explore the depths of his own unconscious mind through active imagination, dream analysis, and other forms of self-reflection. In one particularly striking example, Jung reported a vivid dream in which he found himself standing at the edge of a great precipice, staring out into an abyss of unknown depths. As he stood there, frozen with fear, a figure emerged from the shadows, an old man with a long white beard, who spoke to him in a voice that was both familiar and strange. The old man's words, which Jung recorded in his journal, offered a profound insight into the nature of the self and its relationship to the unconscious, and have been interpreted by many as a manifestation of Jung's own inner wisdom. Jung's work with his patients also led him to explore the role of spirituality and religion in psychological healing. He became increasingly interested in the ways that different spiritual traditions, from Christianity to Buddhism to indigenous shamanism, approach the human condition and how these approaches might be integrated into modern psychotherapy. One notable case study involved a patient known as Mark, a young man who had been struggling with feelings of emptiness and disconnection despite his outward success. Through active imagination and dream analysis, Jung helped Mark uncover a deep-seated need for spiritual meaning and purpose, which had been suppressed by his rational, scientific worldview. As they worked together, Mark began to develop a greater sense of connection to something larger than himself, and ultimately achieved a more profound sense of fulfillment and direction in life. As Jung delved deeper into the mysteries of the human psyche, his fascination with the concept of synchronicity only grew stronger. He began to see it as a thread that weaved together the fabric of reality, revealing hidden patterns and meanings that lay beyond the realm of causal explanation. This notion led him to explore the intersection of psychology and philosophy, particularly in the realms of existentialism and phenomenology. Jung's conversations with philosophers like Martin Heidegger and Carl Jaspers sparked new insights into the human condition, and he started to develop a more nuanced understanding of the self and its relationship to the world. One of the most significant case studies that exemplified Jung's concept of synchronicity was that of a patient known as Emma. Emma was a young woman who had been struggling with recurring dreams and visions that seemed to be connected to her family's history. Through active imagination and dream analysis, Jung helped Emma uncover a deep-seated connection to her ancestors, which revealed a hidden pattern of inherited trauma and collective unconscious memories. As they worked together, Emma began to experience a series of synchronistic events that seemed to confirm the validity of Jung's theories. For instance, she would stumble upon old family letters or artifacts that held significant symbolic meaning, or encounter strangers who would share stories that echoed her own dreams and visions. Jung's work with Emma and other patients like her led him to develop a more sophisticated understanding of the collective unconscious and its role in shaping human experience. He started to see the collective unconscious as a shared reservoir of archetypes and memories that transcended individual experiences, connecting people across cultures and time. This idea sparked controversy among his contemporaries, with some critics accusing Jung of promoting a form of mystical or pseudoscientific thinking. However, Jung remained convinced that his theories were grounded in empirical evidence and observation, and he continued to refine his ideas through rigorous research and experimentation. As Jung's reputation grew, so did his circle of acquaintances and collaborators. He began to correspond with prominent thinkers like Aldous Huxley and Hermann Hesse, who shared his interests in spirituality, philosophy, and the human condition. These exchanges sparked new ideas and perspectives, which Jung incorporated into his work on the collective unconscious and the process of individuation. He also started to explore the relationship between psychology and art, recognizing that creative expression could be a powerful tool for accessing the unconscious mind and tapping into the collective reservoir of archetypes. As Jung's exploration of the collective unconscious deepened, he became increasingly fascinated by the concept of archetypes, universal symbols, images, and themes that recur across cultures and time. He saw these archetypes as part of a shared psychological heritage, a common language that spoke to fundamental human experiences and emotions. To illustrate this idea, Jung often drew upon examples from mythology, literature, and art, highlighting how certain characters, motifs, and story patterns seem to resonate with people on a profound level. One of the most significant archetypes Jung identified was the concept of the self, which he described as the central, guiding force within an individual psyche. The self, according to Jung, represented the integration of opposites, conscious and unconscious, rational and emotional, masculine and feminine, and was the key to achieving wholeness and balance in life. He developed this idea through his work with patients, observing how their dreams, fantasies, and creative expressions often revealed a deep-seated desire for self-realization and unity. Jung's theory of archetypes also led him to explore the concept of the personal unconscious, which he saw as a unique repository of memories, experiences, and desires that were specific to each individual. He believed that the personal unconscious was shaped by a person's life history, relationships, and cultural background, and that it played a crucial role in shaping their personality, behaviors, and motivations. Through his technique of active imagination, Jung encouraged patients to engage with their personal unconscious, using creative expression, fantasy, and dream analysis to tap into this hidden realm. As Jung delved deeper into the mysteries of the human psyche, he began to develop a more nuanced understanding of the relationship between the individual and the collective. He saw the collective unconscious as a shared reservoir of archetypes and memories that connected people across cultures and time, while also recognizing the importance of personal experience and individuality. This tension between the universal and the particular was a central theme in Jung's work, and he spent many years exploring its implications for psychology, philosophy, and spirituality. One of the most significant case studies that exemplified Jung's concept of the collective unconscious was that of a patient known as Sophia. Sophia was a young woman who had been struggling with feelings of disconnection and meaninglessness, despite her outward success and material comfort. As they worked together, Sophia began to experience a series of synchronistic events that seemed to confirm the validity of Jung's theories, including encounters with strangers who shared stories that echoed her own dreams and visions. Jung's work with Sophia and other patients like her led him to develop a more sophisticated understanding of the interplay between the personal and collective unconscious. He started to see the collective unconscious as a dynamic, evolving system that was shaped by the contributions of individual psyches, while also recognizing the importance of cultural and historical context in shaping human experience. He began to correspond with prominent thinkers like Erich Neumann and Marie-Louise von Franz, who shared his interests in depth psychology and the collective unconscious. He also started to explore the relationship between psychology and anthropology, recognizing that the study of human culture and behavior could provide valuable insights into the collective unconscious and its role in shaping human experience. As Jung's work continued to evolve, he became increasingly interested in the concept of synchronicity, which he defined as the occurrence of two or more events that seem to be meaningfully connected, yet lack a causal relationship. He believed that synchronistic events could reveal hidden patterns and connections in the universe, and that they played a crucial role in the process of individuation. Jung's exploration of synchronicity led him to explore the concept of the collective unconscious in even greater depth, as he sought to understand how shared archetypes and memories could influence individual experiences and perceptions. Through active imagination and dream analysis, Jung helped Emily uncover a deep-seated connection to the archetype of the snake, which revealed a hidden pattern of transformation and renewal in her life. Jung's work on synchronicity also led him to explore the concept of the causal connecting principle, which he believed was a fundamental aspect of the universe. He argued that this principle, which he called the synchronistic principle, was responsible for the occurrence of meaningful coincidences and synchronous events. Jung's exploration of the synchronistic principle led him to develop a more nuanced understanding of the relationship between the individual and the collective, as he recognized that individual experiences were shaped by a complex interplay of personal and collective factors. As Jung's reputation grew, he began to attract a wide range of followers and critics. Some, like his colleague and friend Marie-Louise von Franz, were deeply influenced by his ideas and went on to develop their own theories and approaches. Others, like the philosopher and critic Martin Heidegger, were more skeptical of Jung's ideas and argued that they lacked a rigorous philosophical foundation. Despite these criticisms, Jung remained committed to his vision of a deeper, more holistic understanding of human nature, and he continued to explore the mysteries of the collective unconscious with unrelenting passion and curiosity. Jung's relationships with his contemporaries were complex and multifaceted. Jung was also friends with a wide range of artists, writers, and intellectuals, including the novelist James Joyce and the philosopher Carl Jaspers. These relationships not only shaped Jung's thinking, but also influenced the development of modern art, literature, and philosophy. As Jung's work continued to evolve, he became increasingly interested in the concept of the shadow, which he defined as the repressed or hidden aspects of the personality. He believed that the shadow played a crucial role in the process of individuation, as it represented the parts of ourselves that we had rejected or suppressed. Jung's exploration of the shadow led him to develop a more nuanced understanding of the human psyche, as he recognized that individual experiences were shaped by a complex interplay of conscious and unconscious factors. One of the most significant case studies that exemplified Jung's concept of the shadow was that of a patient known as Hans. Hans was a successful businessman who had been struggling with feelings of emptiness and disconnection despite his outward success and material comfort. Through active imagination and dream analysis, Jung helped Hans uncover a deep-seated connection to his own shadow, which revealed a hidden pattern of creativity and passion in his life. Jung's work on the shadow also led him to explore the concept of the process of individuation, which he believed was the central goal of human development. He argued that individuation was a process of integration and wholeness, in which the individual became aware of their own unique strengths, weaknesses, and potential. Jung's legacy is complex and multifaceted. His ideas have influenced a wide range of fields, from psychology and philosophy to art and literature. Yet, his work has also been subject to criticism and controversy, as some have argued that his ideas are too broad or too vague. Despite these criticisms, Jung remains one of the most important and influential thinkers of the 20th century, and his ideas continue to shape our understanding of human nature and the collective unconscious. In conclusion, Carl Jung's profound impact on the field of psychology has left an indelible mark, inviting us to venture into the depths of our collective unconscious and confront the complexities of the human experience. Jung's own words echo through the ages. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. As we bid farewell to this episode, may Jung's wisdom continue to illuminate our path, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. That's all for today's Psych with Sigmund. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, may your ego find balance between pleasure and reality.